All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Vince Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by Coldwell Banker. We're here on the Eagles Nest podcast this morning. Happy Monday, everybody.
And I'm Brad Brewer. All those things he said. Another great Monday morning. We were not here last week, right?
I don't know. Were you here last week? I was off.
You were gone.
Okay.
So we were not here. So welcome back, everybody.
Yeah. So for many, school started some school started last week. Some start this week, and then next week, a lot of the other public schools go live. So good luck to all those teachers out there, school administrators, school workers, whatever your role is. Thank you for what you do, because if it wasn't for you for you guys, I'd be at home with my kids all year long. And let me tell you, that's a chore.
Let's face it, if it wasn't for teachers, people will just have less children.
It's a great way to look at it, potentially.
Just saying.
So yeah, very good way to look at it. So yeah, so thanks to all those teachers out there, those that are actively working right now already, and those that are going back to school this week, next week. So yesterday I hosted a pool party for my daughter's softball team, and I think we had 8 of the players over, and then 3 or 4 other siblings. But a couple of the parents are teachers, so there's a lot of talk about going back to school this week, and getting classrooms ready and starting the year off. So I'm looking forward to the kids going back to school, because then it just separates them for a little while.
That's awesome. I spent a lot of the weekend doing a topic we think covered actually 2 weeks ago, which is fall cleaning.
That's
Literally top to bottom. Working my way through the house and then out to the garage. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So this week covering, working from home and home automation, home technologies. It's huge. Kind of goes hand in hand with kids going back to school. I know us as agents do a lot of our work from home, which is, a majority. Either we're at home or here at the Loop Commons or on the road working out of our vehicles. So
yeah,
looking for it, it's kind of a cool little topic, and how we.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking, like, what could we, when I was thinking about topics for the week, I just was thinking, like, what spurred is, I was originally like, what are the top industries, which is one of the stats we're going to share. I'm going to share that first, is what are the top industries that work from home?
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's changed over the years. I'm sure it has. One, just the type of industries that are out there, correct? So top industries leading the way is information technology. It's IT is very broad.
Right.
But throughout all of IT, 30% are remote jobs. I thought that was, I don't know if I expected that to be bigger or smaller or whatever. Number 2 surprised me. Healthcare, a little over 11%.
Now, when I saw that you shared that stat, my thought on that was, well, there are a lot of things can be done virtually now, right? Virtual doctor's appointments. There's been plenty of times we've gone and done a virtual appointment for kid has a sore throat. Like, they are like, oh, open your mouth. Oh, I see white dots. You have strep. Good luck. Go get antibiotics, right? And then just consultations, right? You can do a lot of that. I have a good buddy of ours who is, he's in healthcare in a sense. He's a social worker,
Okay.
and he does mental health for men, primarily men. He does have a few women he works with, but his wife also does this all as well. But he does about 60, I think he said 60 to 70% of his business is done virtually. Very seldom does someone come into the office. So
actually, and when I did see that, I thought to the more, yes, I know they're for physical, but doctor appointments too, like some of the doctors on over the phone, Zoom, whatever. But yeah, one of my friends actually is, can never remember, and I apologize if she's a psychiatrist or psychologist. I was mix this up. But she's 100%. All her stuff is via like a Zoom or whatever, video. So I thought about it for a second, like, obviously healthcare covers again a broad range. So that started to make a little sense.
Well, and also if you think about it, like people that do transcribe doctor's notes or do medical billing, well, that's all remote, and that's a huge part of our systems and stuff. So that does make sense.
The rest of them, I'll just kind of round off. These all range from 3 to 5%. Marketing and sales, that kind of makes sense. We're definitely probably both, I
Yeah.
would say. Financial totally makes sense. Management, certain levels of management, and then education. I know like my mother-in-law teaches online.
Yeah.
I know that's pretty common or becoming more and more common. Obviously my kid went to a virtual school when she was in high school, so that makes sense. And then customer service. So those kind of round out the top industries for working from home.
Yeah. So yeah, and education, one of the teachers that I was over yesterday works for Carthage, and she goes in once a month. The rest of the time she's doing it virtually. But there are some benefits talking. I mean, this is great. We talked about this at our pool party yesterday, and then on Friday, my daughter had a birthday party. Happy birthday, Tegan, a little late, but whatever.
I'm sure you told her today.
I did. So one of the things we talked about was flexibility, right? And some of the benefits work from home and be able to, at lunchtime, throw in your laundry, do dishes real quick, maybe even just jump on some calls and make some appointments or watch your favorite soap opera, whatever it might be. Flexibility is huge. Now, the downside to that flexibility is I think you're working from home, and let's say you typically leave the house. Use my wife, for example, leaves the house at 8 a.m.
Mhm.
If she was working from home, she's starting to work at 8 a.m.
Right.
instead of leaving. And then same thing, if she's working till 5 at the office and then drive home, there's times she will work till 6. So I truly think, depending on the work ethic of that individual, we get a little more flexibility in your work schedule, but sometimes you're working a little longer.
Yeah.
They give it more hours.
Yeah, and we are going to kind of share the opposite sides of these because for every advantage, there are the disadvantages out there. Another one is, which I could see this going either way. So I'm going to hit the plus and the minuses. You could say increased productivity versus decreased productivity. I think both could occur. The increased productivity positive is there's fewer office distractions and the ability to work in a comfortable environment so you can better focus. Which I 100% agree. But I'll say that you can also have it. I think it's very critical you have what they said as far as the appropriate environment that doesn't have the distractions. Because I've definitely worked in office environments, but in those jobs, I also have the ability to sometimes work from home.
Right.
And I kind of managed, like, I would always think, all right, where am I going to go today that I'm going to have the least amount of distractions? Sometimes home can be very distracting.
Right.
I've not all my homes, I've had the ability to have like a place where I could shut the door, not be bothered. Whereas I do now, but I've not had that. And then there's just sometimes like when you're sitting at home, you're like, you start looking around like, oh, I need to do that. I need to do that. So that can become very distracting. But overall, if you have a very good environment, the office, I would say Mondays, it's the water cooler talk. What happened over the weekend?
Yeah.
Football season really blows that up. And then Friday, everybody starts talking about what are you doing for the weekend. It's no wonder, statistically speaking, Tuesday is the most productive work day of the week. So the day. And then, Wednesday, you got the hump day.
Hallelujah, the weekend's almost here.
Right. And then Thursday, it's like, oh, tomorrow's Friday. So all that makes sense, right? But if you've got that consistent, comfortable environment at home, it can be definitely
Right.
a benefit.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And then obviously the cost savings to working from home, not just from an individual standpoint, like if we're to, pay office space or whatever, but from a corporate standpoint, if you are not, having to maintain a 10,000 square foot building for offices for your employees and you allow them to work from home, you're saving yourself a lot of money from a corporate standpoint. Now, you don't get that face-to-face, interaction,
Correct.
which is, I think some people need it. I know if I work from home Monday through Thursday, by Friday, I'm ready to pull my hair out. Luckily, Wednesdays, we break down our work week, and Wednesdays we screw off. So for the most part, but it can be a huge cost savings to you as an individual or your employer as a whole. So that's
absolutely. But you're right, it's cost savings for the employee, it's also cost savings for the employer, less physical office space, so less overhead.
right.
On the employer side makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
This is it's a benefit, which I liked your example. You kind of gave this example with your wife, the better work-life balance. So your wife's basically losing essentially 2 hours a day with the commute. So then if she's home, she starts work at 8, boom, she's working, very productive. If she's still into work at 5, but then she's boom, done. She's immediately there with the family, right?
Right. Shut the computer down, we're done.
Exactly. That, by the way, is also on the list of the negatives, meaning you get a blurred line. Like,
Yeah.
when do you shut it down? I know
I'm
my wife
guilty.
would tell me all the time, like, I'm guilty of this.
We're also self-employed though.
We are, which,
So,
I mean, that's just another animal in itself. So,
right.
But, so definitely better work-life balance, can be a positive, also can be negative. It's on both.
Yeah, no, and then, obviously the access to, I think this is a positive and negative, right? So if you are working from home, you do still have access to, all of your resources, HR, your bosses, things like that. But also you don't have the ability to stop Brad in the hall and go, "Hey, Brad, let me run an idea by you real quick.
Right.
What do you think of the list price on this home? This is the stats." You don't have that quick individual commodity that you're looking for that you have when you go to the office. So I think it's a tough balance between that social interaction and be able to use your peers to bounce ideas off of, because we as agents, as we get busy, someone may reach out to us and be like, "Hey, what about XYZ?" And it might be a little while before we get back to them, where at the office you have that individual.
I think that's also can be an adaptation. You're just gonna have to adapt. Like, there are times when I look at my phone and
You'll see them do it like 10 times during this podcast.
there'll be there's calls between you and I like 12 times in one day.
Right.
Because it's like you'll talk to me and like literally 5 minutes later, call me again. It's because you have something else. You're like, oh, I want to run this.
Yeah.
That's fine, because it's again using technology to communicate. It's still, I think, a very good benefit. I think there's more benefits probably. Again, I think it all depends on, as far as the productivity. You have to have a very comfortable, good workspace at home.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I think you saw a lot of that during COVID, where people literally, when there were so many, are like, well, this is our only option right now. People were building offices in their homes.
Yeah. That was like the number one remodel. Talking to a lot of contractors in the last, probably about a year ago, when people started going back to work, and contractors were now doing outside space and things like that. The number one remodel in a home during COVID was either finishing basements or adding office space. And it's obviously finishing basements probably did a couple things, gave a little more space for the families to be like, "Kids, get out of my hair, go to the basement and play," right? Or I need to develop a room or an area that is office space.
Right.
So that was the number one, the remodel during COVID was basements and office space. So it makes sense. When there's a need, there's a way.
Yeah. Next on the list here is health and well-being. So reduced exposure to illnesses and more opportunities for physical activity and healthier meal choices. Yeah, I could argue both ways on that one.
The two, I think the catch-22 on this is, just physical activity. You have to set the time aside. We're both independent, we both make our own schedules basically.
Yeah.
But if we don't set the time aside, we then get wrapped up in the work ahead of time. So those that are where, if you are forced to go to the office at 8 o'clock, you have to get your workout in at 5:45 or 7 p.m. at night, right?
Right.
Where you and I as agents will say, "Oh, you know what? I'll do it at noon today. I'll go walk a mile." And then something gets in the way, schedule setting, right? Something gets in the way and you're not able to actively do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, but the workout thing for me is, I've tried it throughout my career, various different ways: the evening workout, the morning workout, the midday workout. I'm 100% personally more consistent when I just commit to the morning.
Oh yeah.
Just because you're getting it again, it's that part of that morning routine that we've talked about in the past. And you're just, once you get it out of the way, because you're right, you get midday or the evening, all the excuses, or especially in our industry, when do a lot of showings happen? afternoons and evenings, right?
Right.
And you can get those requests at noon for them, like, hey, can we get in this house tonight? And it's like, well, it's gonna go work out. Well, that just got,
I'm gonna show up all sweaty and nasty, but yeah, we can get into that house tonight.
again, maybe that comes back to the work environment though. If some people have the ability or have a good sized enough home. And I know some people did this with the remodels too, is at home gyms.
Yeah.
During
Yep.
COVID as well, right? Shoot, I can't go to the gym for who knows how long. So now we're at home gym. So,
I think we did an at-home bar, but
whatever.
to each their own. Actually, my bar was built well before the gym, or I mean, well before the COVID hit
That's
and
true.
before the gym.
That's true. Good point.
So, moving on here. Environmental impact. Gosh, this is huge, right? Less cars on the road, less emissions, less utilities being used from larger buildings. Yes, you're still using some of those utilities at home, but we're at Loop Commons right now, shared space. And the utilities being used here, right? If we shut them off here, we're gonna use them at home.
Right.
But these are almost always like in an area like this, those lights and stuff are always on. The doors are open, hallway lights are on. The building's being heated or cooled, even if there's not somebody here. So, there's definitely a smaller impact to the environment.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a negative on that. No, next one, autonomy, greater control over the work environment and daily routine. We kind of covered some of this, like if you're very self-disciplined, the morning workout, all those types of things. I think the autonomy is great. I'll do this in I'll give this comparison. So school, our daughter was Montessori. If anyone not familiar, short explanation is Montessori is kind of like the students kind of self-drive themselves. Like, oh, I'm going to work on math now. I'm going to work on this later. Instead of like being said in a normal structure, well, we're going to do math right now. We're going to do history later. Well, no, I want to do history first, math later, right?
Right.
Autonomy. So, but there were kids like, I know, like even in the same household, one child was a great fit and went Montessori. The other one needed more of that structure. Like, no, you're going to be told to do this. Again, that's adults too.
Right.
Like, can you control your own environment? Can you control your own schedule? Or do you really need to be like, hey, do this next,
Yeah.
right? So, I think it's a good one though.
And it's tough, right? Well, let's continue to move on here. Access to global talent pool, we'll skip that. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but I think the downsides to working from home, this first one is huge. And I feel this one in the wintertime a lot, is isolation and loneliness. I'm never lonely, but isolation. I think that is, as you work from home, the days get shorter, sun sets earlier, whatever. It's colder out. You're not getting outside. You're not getting that physical activity. You start feeling isolated. And I hate to say it, with isolation comes depression, right? People get depressed, and in the winter, I think that's just common. In the wintertime, people are just getting depressed that there's a foot of snow outside and they can't do anything or whatever it might be. So I would highly recommend that if you are work from home or whatever it is, find that environment where you can have some type of social interaction. Maybe, you're going to burn boot camp. Maybe you are, you're throwing in a bags league on a Wednesday night or a golf league on a Thursday night. Find that ability or book club, whatever it might be, wine club. Find that ability to get out and separate your work life and your home life, which then blend together to have a little more social interaction with the outside world.
Yeah, I just think on that one, you got to be self-aware. Like, I mean, there's individuals that could be at home all week, day, noon, night, doesn't bother them. Some of them, it is a health thing that I think you need that interaction. So
yeah, communication challenges. I think in the last since COVID, I really think that communication through social media, through Zooms, Teams meetings, things like that, have come a long ways. The one thing that why this is a challenge is we all know that an email, text message, voicemail can be miscued in a negative way, right? Like you could send an email to your team and said, hey, here's 10 action items. They could then think, WTF, why is Vince coming down on me to get my job done? No, it's just kind of a reminder that this is what we're looking to do, right?
Mhm.
So I think that part of it, and it is one key, and then the slower collaboration, right? If we're sitting on an email, we're trying to get everyone's input, or obviously distractions. If we're on a Zoom call or if we're on a Teams call, we're sitting here and we're doing this podcast, right? But then there's other moving distractions that are going on that you see Brad look at his watch 10 times during the Zoom call. I want you guys to keep track one time, see how many times it is, or he picks up his phone and or he touches it. Oh, it's pretty funny. We're gonna go over under on the next one. We're gonna see how many times he can do it. So yeah, all right, sorry. But I mean,
next one we're gonna skip next. We actually mentioned the next couple, which is the distractions. So that was the downside. Kind of that reduced visibility, that office communication type thing, team cohesiveness. We kind of really did all of those when we were talking about the positives as the reverse sides. The security risk. Okay, that's kind of on its own. That's the one we haven't really touched. There is, depending on your home security, there's all types of breaches. Companies have breaches. Typically your home networks may be less secure. So making sure that you have a very secure home network. A lot of employers, especially with some pretty, important, especially like the healthcare is a great example. They have to operate through VPNs, and there's extra firewall protections that they give their employees to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, and a lot of big companies like that will give the employee a laptop that has the right security settings on there, and you can't change them, right? So like my wife's computer, she cannot download the sports app for my daughter's softball games to her work laptop because that's an outside source. It could have a breach of data or something, and work in through the back wall to get stuff done. So yeah,
and schools do that too. If you ever gone to a school and they have public Wi-Fi. I don't know if this is still the case, but I remember Birmingham School, I was in the spring. I just went to check my Facebook page and I was on the network. Wouldn't let you go to Facebook.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, that keeps the kids focused during the day. So
now, I mean, that was years ago. So now it's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.
So I think that's funny with the security. It's an excellent segue to our next topic, actually.
Yeah.
I think so. We also want to take a look at some, with all working at home, some great tie-ins, most popular features in today's homes as far as technology. We're going into more and more homes, especially the newer homes, new construction homes, just remodeled homes, is all the, voice activation, all kinds of different things. So here's a list of kind of some of the top stuff. Some of this we're just gonna scan over because I think it's been around a while, but like smart home hubs, that's probably the most popular, easy to use. Your Alexa, Google Assist, Apple Home Kits, those types of things where you can voice speak to and play music or whatever.
Yeah. Turn on kitchen lights, or start microwave.
This next one's been around a while. Smart thermostats, like the Nest. There's all kinds of different brands now that do it where they can learn, and they can sense when you're home, not home, and adjust your thermostat accordingly to save energy, carbon footprint, all that kind of great stuff, right?
And I'll touch on that a little bit too. Like if you don't have, let's say you have a smart thermostat from 10 years ago when they first came out, they are not as up to date as some of the newer ones, right? Like you said, they learn you. So there's times that my Ecobee, whatever it's called, will adjust because it's going to be 100 degrees out. It knows that we don't need to keep the house at 72 today. We can keep it at 76. And it's going to feel just as cool as it would if it was 72, right? So it will, auto adjust it to 76 for the day and know that, hey, based on this. And then if we're not home, if it doesn't sense movement, like we have these little movement sensors, living rooms, bedrooms, and in the basement. So if we're not home, it knows. It will pick up that no one's moving around. There's no one here. The house is empty. Let's crank it up to maybe 78, 79, and then let it cool off.
I like your example. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. So like today, the next few days it's gonna be really super hot, right?
Yeah, we're gonna sweat our tails off.
We normally keep our thermostat with the AC on like 72. I keep the upstairs during the day when we're not up there a little little bit warmer even.
Yeah.
Even bumping the main level up to like 74, 75, compared to outside, you're gonna walk in, you're still gonna feel very, very cool. So there's an adjustment level there. So I think that all works really well.
Well, and kind of talking about smart thermostats, if you have multi levels in your home, so basement, main floor, second floor, look into systems that your first will probably have to be upgraded for zoning and stuff. But depending on how your ductwork's ran in your home, look at setting up different zones. So our basement is separate from our upstairs. So in the wintertime, if the heat's on upstairs, the heat's not on downstairs. It's two separate thermostats. We don't have to worry about the main floor heater AC cooling the basement or losing that to the lower levels. So, and if you have a second floor, you can kind of do the same thing. So a great way to kind of help in that automation and
it's a damper system. I think most modern homes are designed, if it's not installed that way, you can. Like ours was designed, and ours is a damper. No, we're not. We have basement, main, and upstairs. We just have upstairs and main level, and the basement gets whatever. So that's a great example of that. Smart lighting. So I get teased about this from my wife, but every house we've ever moved in, as soon as we moved into, whether we've rented or bought or whatever, I literally go through the entire house and it's a huge expense, but it pays for itself in literally like 2 months. I changed all bulbs to LED.
Yeah.
The cost savings is insane. I did it on our house out in Wheatland a few years ago. That one, I literally saw $100 difference in the electric bill in 1 month.
Oh my God, that's insane. That just tells you leave your lights on way too much.
Probably, but but if you're gonna do that, and I'm not trying to tease my wife, she never barely listens to this anyway. But she's the type of person, like her mom used to say, you knew every room she was in the house because the lights were on. And that's what she does. She goes down and she turns lights off. She never turns them off. I'm always going around turning them off, even with LED. But that's how she was. I'm like, we're gonna see a huge savings because I knew.
Yeah. Well, and with that, I will also throw in there motion sensored light switches. So in our basement, we have, going to our laundry room, we have motion sensored light switches. The reason for that is our laundry is downstairs. So if we're walking downstairs with a basket full of clothes, it's kind of difficult to flip the switch on, right? Same thing, and that gets us down the stairs and around the corner and then into the laundry room. As soon as the laundry room door opens or there's movement right there, it then lights up the laundry room. But then it shuts off. I think it's on a 3-minute timer. If it doesn't sense any motion there, it will shut off, which then you don't have to worry about shutting off the light when your hands are full, right? Because otherwise they stay on all the time. Yeah. So think of like opportunities to put motion sensors in it as well.
A couple of these we've kind of merged some of. I'm kind of looking at this. There's voice activated. We've already talked about that. The home automations, Vince is talking about that. There's one thing on voice automation I'm gonna come back to, but in the energy management systems, Vince, we really covered that.
Yeah.
The high-speed mesh systems, advanced routers, mesh systems, that kind of goes to security. So we can skip over that. I'd say these last three pretty quick and easy to cover. The home automation, I don't have any. I don't think you do either. I thought it was cool saying one of our friends that has a lake house, when they remodeled it, he's like, it was a huge additional cost, but he's like, it's actually a huge savings. The blinds go up and down on a schedule.
Oh, okay.
And that really helps with, again, especially in the summertime with the heat coming in.
Yep.
Having the blinds adjusted in certain times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That you don't have to go around and do that. He's like, it's a great savings. I'm like, that's actually really smart.
Yeah, they're not cheap. I actually did. So I want to, a lot of these are really great ideas, but folks, keep in mind, they do not add as much value as they cost if you're thinking of selling your home. Okay.
Great.
I had a listing appointment earlier or towards the end of last week, and they have those blinds. They paid a lot of money for these automatic blinds that they can put on schedules or use a remote to put up and down, and they're fancy. So they're like a system like this. They can kind of cover up, go all the way up, separate, whatever. Either way, then they also had some of the more expensive Samsung smart refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, and microwave. Things like that, it might cost you 20 grand, but that is a nice to have, would like to have. It's not a necessity. A stainless steel appliance will do just as good of a job. Now, we're also talking about a $350,000 home. Now, if your home's $1.2 million, different story.
Different story there.
But let's put this in relation to the cost of your house. If 1% or 2% of your appliances is wrapped up in, or the 1 to 2% of your costs of appliances wrapped up in your sale price, it doesn't justify it, guys. So
yeah, the smart appliances thing, which is gonna be the next one we talked about, you're right. Like ours has, I don't really see a huge benefit on it, except for maybe the turn off. And ours is not expensive. It's in probably what I call regular priced oven range.
yeah,
But a lot of the newer stuff has the tech features. Ours is the Wi-Fi setup. So you can set your temperature on your oven like before you get home,
yeah,
but it will not let you turn it on remotely. And that's probably a safety thing. Nice thing is you can turn it off remotely.
that's good.
But it's like if my wife sets the oven, she still has to call me if I'm home and say, hey, can you hit start? I've set everything. Sure. Okay. So I guess it's a little bit of, yeah, I don't think they're always these features, and especially on the cost. Watch the cost of it. And if you're getting ready to sell, does it make sense? And the home I actually referenced was, of course, a lake house. So it is a higher priced home,
Yeah.
which does make sense. But otherwise, yeah, definitely, are you going to be there a while? Are you planning to sell? Those are huge factors.
It really is. And so, yeah, keep that in mind when you're making these changes or putting in Philips Hue light bulbs. They have Philips Hue light bulbs in all of their rooms. And they're like, Alexa, turn the living room blue. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Do I really give a shit? No.
How
Sorry
often
if
are
you're
you gonna
watching
change
this.
the color anyway?
No joke.
I can think maybe, okay, Christmas season, maybe I'd be like, oh, turn it red. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if I would then.
I would, the benefit I would say is, Alexa, dim the living room lights to 50%. That's about it. I could give two craps if all of a sudden holidays or we're watching a horror movie, I'd be like, Alexa, turn the lights red. No, it doesn't work that way, guys.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right. Anything else you want to cover? Sorry, we're
No,
at the top of the
I
hour.
think we hit everything. The other thing we didn't really mention was some of the office setup, health and fitness, smart mirrors, all that kind of stuff. Those again.
I'm going to touch on the last one because I think this is huge. Water leak detectors.
Oh, yeah.
I one last thing, ways to make your home a little safer. Water leak detectors, a battery backup to your sump pumps, and you can there's tools out there that will notify you if your house loses power when you're away. Basically, it sends, I'm not sure how it works. It keeps a battery for a few minutes and sends a remote signal to you through, I think it's your cell phone service. But it's a way to know when you lose power at your house when you're out before the power company actually calls or tells you, hey, you're out of power. Yeah, that was 4 hours ago, Jack. So
yeah, we manage those time with that.
Yeah. Anyways, hey, I'm Vince Devall with Eagle Homes Nest Podcast.
And I'm Brad Brewer. Have a great week. We will not be here next week. It is Labor Day, Monday.
Happy Labor Day, everyone.
So we'll see you in a couple weeks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.